Hello, my dear students. Today is the second day of our lecture, and today we will discuss mainly the types of asexual reproduction that we have already started. So, in today's lecture, we will see the next type of asexual reproduction, and that is through vegetative propagation. Please kindly follow the classification of further classification of the vegetative propagation in the next slide. Hello, my dear students. In the next slide, you will observe different ways by which we classify vegetative propagation. So, vegetative propagation is mainly classified in two ways. One is called as natural vegetative propagation. The other one is called as artificial vegetative propagation. As the slide shows, this natural vegetative propagation is further subclassified into uh, roots, stem, leaves, and bulbils. So these are the methods by which natural vegetative propagation actually takes place. In case of stem, it actually takes place in three ways. You can see the slide. One is by underground method, second is by subaerial method, and third is by aerial method. Underground method, inside the ground. Subaerial method, some part will be buried inside and some part will be exposed in atmosphere, and whereas in aerial part the entire portion will be exposed in atmosphere. So in underground part of modification of stem, you can see the topics that we have to study. These include rhizome, tuber, bulb, corm, and sucker. In case of subaerial, you can see we have to study about runner, offset, and stolen. Alright, and the next type of method by which we classify vegetative propagation is by artificial method. So in artificial method, we go for cutting, we go for layering, grafting, approach grafting, and micro propagation. So my dear student, I want to say one thing, that in this slide, especially in case of artificial vegetative propagation, we will focus on first three types, that is cutting, layering, and grafting. The remaining two is not that important and it is not to be considered so important. So these three types need to be taken care of very seriously. So today we will discuss natural vegetative propagation first, and in the next lecture we will see artificial vegetative propagation. So let's talk about natural vegetative propagation first. So the methods. The first method is by root. Ordinary root in many plant, example siso plant, guava, murraya, albizia species, they have got adventitious bud, and these adventitious bud is responsible for growth of new plant. Second is by stem. So by stem, it is actually it can take place in many ways. First method is by bulb. So it is bulb is a modified shoot that is a very short stem, and it has got apical and axillary bud. So these apical and axillary bud will actually give rise to new plant. Example is allium cepa, that is onion, allium sativum, that is garlic, etc. Next method by stem is through runner. Runners are creeping stems. You can say these are creeping stems which produce roots at nodes, and runners sometimes also break at many places. Each places it give rise to a new independent plant. Example is doob grass, that is cynodon, oxalis, etc. The third type is rhizomes. The common example include ginger that you have seen, and in day-to-day life you also use that medicinal plant. So these are basically, rhizomes are basically underground horizontal growing stem, and they have got nodes and internodes, axillary bud, which actually develop into a new plant. So my dear students, there are further more types of modification of stem, but before going into the next slide, I just want to say one thing. You can differentiate modification of root and modification of stem by considering nodes, internodes mainly. Why? Because nodes and internodes are the common feature of exclusively, especially exclusively the feature of stem and not the feature of root. So wherever you find these nodes, internodes, definitely these are these are not the modification of root, these are modification of stem or by stem itself. Okay, so in next slide we will see other types also. The next type of modification of stem is COM. It is basically condensed rhizome. It's a type of rhizome, but the thing is rhizome here is actually condensed, and that grows vertically inside soil. So in soil it will grow vertically. It will produce axillary bud in the in the axil of the leaf, and these further actually produce daughter corm. These daughter corm basically can grow into independent plants. Okay, so these includes many examples. Crocus is there, that is called saffron. Clocacia, that is taro, Arissema, etc. The next modification is tuber. Tuber is basically an underground stem. It has got eye. The most common example is Solanum tuberosum, that is potato. So these basically have got eyes, which is actually bud present, and these eyes or bud can develop into a new plant. Next type of modification of stem is offset. So it actually looks like runner in the beginning. So in the beginning it will look like runner, more or less thickened. It has got prostrate branch with a tuft of leaf at the apex. So example includes Ecornia, that is water hyacinth. So water hyacinth, basically the two ends are connected by short interval of branched structure. So that branch structure is actually the stem part, and that is actually modification of stem, that is called as offset. So especially in slide number 7, in slide number 7, figure 10.12, you can observe this structure. They actually develop from base of the old shoot, and after growing horizontally for some distance it gives rise to a new crown. Okay, and they may break and form many independent plants. Alright, so in next type of modification of stem, the type is called as aerial shoot, that is aerial modification. So a segment of stem of example including opuntia and other cacti plant, they may develop into a new plant. So this you might have observed in cacti, opuntia. Those are the plant which basically considered as xerophytic plants. So they actually they develop into a new plant after falling on the soil. What happens? A segment of the stem fall on the soil and it grows into a new plant. A similar segment of sugar cane with least one node is used in agriculture to produce new plants. So this you can also observe in sugarcane, botanically also known as Saccharum obscinarum, where you can see the eyes which is present on the surface of the sugarcane, which is actually node. When absorbs moisture from the ground, it will develop a new plant. So in next slide you will observe all the suitable diagram given, that is slide number 5, figure 10.7. Please go through the figure very seriously. So in this slide we will see another method by which plant can go for natural vegetative propagation, and this slide includes the another two type, that is by leaf and by bulbil. So by leaf you can cite the best example, Bryophyllum digermontianum, where leaf directly fall on the ground and they possess minute bud at the axis of the margin of the leaf, which develops into propagule. After absorbing moisture, they develop into new plant. This is one method by which bryophyllum propagates. The other method which bryophyllum opt is by breaking of the leaf, and each such broken part of the leaf, when come to the ground level, they absorb moisture and can develop into new plant. Other examples you can go for adiantum, kalanchoe, streptocarpus, Centpolia. In vegetative propagation by bulbils, you can cite this in agave species, oxalis species. You can see this in pineapple also, lily, etc. So these basically are fleshy in nature. Their buds are fleshy and they develop into new plant when they fall on the soil. Alright, so in next slide you will see a clear diagrammatic representation of all the modification of a stem, especially by leaf, by bulbils, and other suitable types that I have discussed. Please go through it seriously. In this slide you can see different methods by which plant go for vegetative propagation naturally. Especially I am speaking in this slide because this slide has got a modification of stem part also, that is figure 10.12, which is acornia. As I have discussed acornia in the previous slide, the diagram is actually present in this slide. So please go through the diagram. It has got modification by stem. It has got vegetative propagation by leaf, including bryophyllum, and there is a specific diagram for agave species which actually propagate by bulbils. So my dear students, please go through the diagram very carefully and do remember all these points very nicely and do work on it.